I will tell you, I'd like to thank about 10 companies that partnered up with me on the podcast. That's Cast and Pool, Aventacor, LT Jigs, uh, Hiya Bait Company, Charles Sassy Fishing, and then you got the Cane Pole here in Richmond, Kentucky, Bypass Bait and Tackle in Flemingsburg, Kentucky, Backwaters Bait and Tackle in Lexington, Kentucky, the Barber Shop here in Richmond, and Get Outside Kentucky. But a lot of people that's in here may not know you, but a lot of these questions I ask you, you'll be like, "What? I already know them." But some of the folks listening may not. So, but where are you located at?
I'm in Alabama, Central Alabama. Uh,
And who got you into fishing?
well, it started at a young age. When I was little, we had a pond growing up, and that's pretty much all we did is fish. If we wasn't playing in the woods or anything, we was fishing. So
Oh yeah.
that's where it started out at a family pond. We all lived in the same vicinity, so that was our go-to.
What species did you have in it?
Yeah, mainly bluegill, brim, some bass, and then of course the birds come over and drop. Heck, I've caught crappie out of the pond.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's a little spot of water on I-75, probably about 10 miles from the house, and every once in a while I mention it. I'm like, I'm gonna go fish that. My wife's like, there ain't no fish in that. I was like, listen, I was like between the river and the creeks and the Fen Lakes in between 75. I said, I about would guarantee you that there's fish in it. Now, whether I can catch them or not, but
Mhm.
I would about be willing to bet money that there's fish in there, and it probably ain't ever fished. So, what's your favorite species of fish to target?
Ah, bass, largemouth.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And you do a lot of creek fishing too, though, don't you?
oh yeah, I love. I last year I got into creek fishing pretty heavy, and man, they ain't nothing like it. Honestly, I mean, using rooster tail, helger mites, whatever will get their attention in the creeks. I'll use it, but my main go-to in the creeks, top three is gonna be helger mites, rooster tail, and that whopper plopper of yours during the summertime.
I've been working on some of them here. I just got to put the kill dots on them and clear coat them, and these are ready to go. But yeah, and that's the thing, man. I'm trying to get back to creek fishing. I found a couple places. We went and floated one the other day, Silver Creek, and I'm glad we had a lot of rain. I'm glad we floated it because I probably won't ever do it again because it seemed like you need a lot of rain to be able to float that creek.
Hmm.
That's what I told my brother. I said, I'm glad we floated it. I said, because if we hadn't had all this rain that we had, we'd have been doing more pulling and tugging the kayaks than
Hmm.
actually fishing. It was a 6 hour trip. Um, and we probably had to stop maybe 10 times to drag. So I couldn't imagine how long it would have took if we wouldn't have had that rain. But I'm really wanting to try and get up there to Elkhorn at least 2 to 3 times this summer, and then obviously whenever we go back to home to Harlan, I always fish it if it's safe to get in the water.
We
But
got
my
this
but my
little
next or go ahead. I'm sorry.
we got this little creek. It's called 5 Mile Creek, and 865 creek fishing. He told me about it, or talked to me about it, and he's all the way up in Pigeon Forge around that area, and for him to hear about it and all the creeks up there, and he said he's got a buddy down here that fishes it, so we got on that last year, and man, whether the water's low or high, I'm gonna try to kayak it again this year because last year we tore them up. I
Yeah,
mean,
I couldn't remember the name of the creek, but I remember you and one of your buddies went and floated it.
hmm
Yeah, y'all have a killer time. It looked like.
Yeah, and GoPro took a crap on us, but if I'd have had that GoPro going the whole time, man, we would have had a bunch. It'd have been probably an hour, 2 hour video
Yeah.
to post.
That's the thing that I love about it, man. You know, the creek fishing part of it is one, you really don't know how it's going to go because it either goes one of two ways. You're either not catching or you're just wearing them out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's been my experience. It's you know, it's either you're not, you know, you might catch a handful or you might catch 300 fish
Mm-hmm.
uh, in a day. It's a ton of fun. Thank you, Casting Pool, for the heartbeat. But you're located in Alabama, and you know Alabama is loaded with some great places to fish. But what's a lake in Alabama that you think is underrated, or the most underrated lake in Alabama?
Really haven't done a lot of lake fishing. Smith Lake's about the only lake, which we've got Bibb County Lake and Walker County Lake, but they're not considered like the lake. They're
Like a Finn Lake, like a reservoir?
yeah, pretty much.
Well, around you, which one do you think would be the most underrated?
I'm gonna say the we'll go with that Walker County Lake. It's some people catch them all day and some end up with nothing. But that's the most I guess challenging but rewarding lake around me.
Oh yeah. Thank God for all the gifts. And hey, how you doing, Awesome? They we all have funny things happen to us while we're fishing. But what can you tell us a funny fishing story that's happened to you?
I've got one I've been wanting to tell. Is about the first time I ever remember bass fishing in my life. I was probably about 8 or so, and my grandpa had me at this. Uh, let's see, was it Smith? No, it was a pond behind Smith Lake. But anyways, I had to go use the restroom, and I had the pole in my hand. Well, as soon as I had to use the restroom, had the pole in my hand, there goes a bass. Tug it. I'm like, oh, just trying to pull my pants up, trying to fish, and it was a big old bass. And I'm like, goodness. And we got it. My grandpa ended up keeping it. He was going to mount it for me.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the size of it or anything, but I remember us having it in the freezer for like years, and it ended up ruining, and he never got it mounted for me. So that's one.
If you would have got that fish mounted, you could have told everybody that fish got you with your pants down. Yeah. Like I ain't the only person that's ever caught me with my pants down is that fish.
But there's one more very memorable. It was recently fishing at the Walker County Lake. That's pretty much where I would go if I want to catch a mess of catfish.
Yeah.
So one day I had a boat, and I was on the end of the boat, and we didn't have mounts or nothing for our poles, so we just kind of had them laying in the boat to the sides and stuff. Well, one pole took off in the water. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Man.
I was casting and casting and casting, trying to get that pole back, and then I finally hooked it. And the buddy of mine that was with me, he said, "You didn't get that pole." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I did. I'm reeling it." I said, "And it ain't alone either. I got the pole out of the water. There's a catfish on there."
I remember this. You posted a video on it last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. That's hilarious. It's I tell you something funny. Something similar happened to me and two of my buddies was fishing the creek bank. And talk about, you know, fish catch you with your pants down. One of my buddies, he said, man, I'm going to step up here and use the bathroom. And he's like, do y'all care to watch my fishing pole? Don't care a bit. Well, we're sitting over there cutting up, joking around, all that stuff. The next thing we heard something go, and it was his pole. Looked over and it went straight down and straight out in the water. Now, my buddy was about 6'4", 6'5", probably went about 240, 250 at the time. Big old youngin'. And we convinced him to roll his pants legs up. Now, keep in mind, we're night fishing. We're at night in the mountains in the river. And we convinced him to roll his pants legs up. And he's out there wading around trying to find his pole. And me and my other buddies just up there cackling. He's like, man, it ain't funny. It ain't funny. And finally he got pissed and he was like, I ain't ever going to find my fishing pole. And we was like, we didn't think he was either. But it was just, the fact that, we convinced him to do that. It was just a little bit more extra entertaining, so to speak. Thank you for all the shares. And one thing I want to mention real quick, I seen Corey pop in. I always try to mention Corey. He mentions me over there on his podcast. But have you been watching any of the podcast Alabama Fishin'? I know you've been busy here lately.
Before the move and all this stuff we had going on, I've tuned in a little bit and watched him. But
I was going to tell you, I wasn't sure if you was aware of it or not, but I was going to let you aware of it and everybody else. But his podcast is about bait making. They talk about fishing and stuff too, but I was on it this past Tuesday or last Tuesday. I was on it with Corey, and it was a lot of fun. And wanted to shout him out real quick while he's in here so people could pick him up. If you're not following him, he does it every Tuesday night. And he also posts them over on YouTube as well once he gets them finished.
Does he do it just on YouTube, not on Spotify or anything?
I think he's looking into iHeart right now is what he was looking into. I think that might be the route he's eventually going to go, and which I'm going to eventually end up putting mine over on Apple. There's a way to do it, is what I was telling him, but it's not important to me right now. So I'm trying to fish as much as I can. I got a show coming up in July over in Pikeville. So after this week, it'll be rush time getting a bunch of stuff painted up for the show.
If I don't catch you on here, I definitely get on Spotify and re-listen to the podcast for sure.
I appreciate it very much. Let's see here. Well, we talked about the funniest thing. What is the weirdest thing you've ever caught other than the fishing pole that you lost?
Let's see. Well, probably be, I've got a poor video on my Facebook, but me and a buddy of mine, we were catfishing, and man, that pole was bent over. I'm talking about, I ain't never seen a pole bent over that bad. It was like literally thudding across the bottom of the boat, and I'm like, what have I got a hold of? And I'm pulling. I'm fighting that thing probably 25 minutes. Get it to the top, big old soft shell turtle. And I'm like, my gosh, I was so mad.
Pooh's in here now. Me and Pooh went fishing yesterday. Me, her, and the wife did. And I can't remember if she seen it, man, but there was a big soft shell. It was huge. I was like, yeah, almighty. Tell you another good one. The fog was thick. I didn't have my nav chart pulled up on my screen. I just putting down, going to that first spot. Was going to fish. And I got to looking around and I went, is that the damn marina over there? And said, yeah, I think it is. And I thought I was heading this way, and at some point dodging and weaving, brush, or not brush, but floating logs and stuff. Somehow I'd done a 180 and started going back the same direction that we had just come from. But I did. I was like, what the hell is that? The marina? Crazy. That's probably the craziest thing I've done on a boat yet. I didn't catch it, but I seen someone's blow up partner one time on the creek bank. Me and a buddy, we was wade fishing. If you can follow my drift there, I was like, what in the world is that over there in that brush? And he was like, man, I don't know. I didn't know it was that, but it was realistic. I thought it was a body. I mean, legit. I was like, I thought it was someone over laying. And the closer I got, I was like, no, never mind. I was like, somebody's wife must have started doing some closet digging or something and got rid of it. But I will, and it's funny. I don't know if RoxBox is still in here, but this question I had to ask though: is the RoxBox speaker is really rugged and tough and waterproof as they advertise it?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
You mind telling everybody what I did to you down in Alabama when we was on the boat, or what? Not what I did to you, what I did to it.
Oh well, he stuck a phone in that thing, had it playing, and threw it off the back of the boat, and hammered it. Hammered it. That thing was bouncing and bobbing. It still worked.
That's the only time I think a speaker has probably ever went tubing on. Well, at least on Smith Lake. There's a lot of people don't realize it, but the RoxBox speaker went tubing on Smith Lake.
Yeah, and it held up too.
It still does. It still does. That's what I've got it sitting right down here below me. I was going to use it to play music on, but I let my youngin borrow it, and as soon as I opened it, the on switch was still on, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not using that today. It's on charge. I always ask everybody this: what's a lesson that fishing has taught you that applies in life, everyday life, or just life in general?
It's taught me a lot of patience, especially now that I've got 3 youngins in my life now. It's taught me a lot of patience, and you got to be patient in life, and you got to, especially with the kids. I learned this from who was it? Hank Parker. He said, if you're going fishing with kids, don't even worry about messing with your pole. Tend to them, tend with the kids, and because you're going to stress yourself out trying to fish and try to fish with them, and just let them have their time fishing. Teach them their lessons.
Yes.
And patience is key to fishing.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with you on that. That's what a lot of people like that I know about the airbrush, and they're like, "Man, I ain't got the patience for it." And I was like, "You'd be surprised." I was like, "You fish, I was like, "You're a fisherman." I was like, I said, "If you don't have patience fishing," I said, "then you wouldn't still be fishing." I said so. I said, "You'd be surprised." I told a couple of them. I was like, "You could come over to the house." I said, "Sit down." I said, "See if you like it before you know what I mean, about the stuff." I said, but yeah, patience. I agree with you there. It will. It'll humble you too.
Oh yeah.
That's what I told Pooh yesterday. We was out there. I mean, we caught some small ones, which still catching. Didn't go home smelling like a skunk. But that's what about halfway through the day, I said, "Well," I said, "did you bring it with you?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Dynamite." I said, "Because we throwed." I said, "Everything but that." I said, "It." I said, "I'm telling you." I was like, "Yeah, it's a tough day." But there was a tournament going on yesterday too. I'd like to know how many boats was on it, but the payout on the tournament was 10 grand. So there was a ton of people, but everyone we talked to on the water said they were struggling. So that made me feel a little bit better.
Last year, that little fishing tournament I helped with and everything. Now there was another set of people fishing the tournament, and they were supposed to be like just below MLF fishermen, and we sat there and watched them weigh out, and then our group of people came and weighed out, and the group of people we had weigh out, it was for a local fire department. They weighed out way more than them professional fishermen. Yeah. So I guess, may have been people that fished the lake pretty regular though, but still, just because you're a professional don't mean.
That's one thing I'll say. I ain't a professional in anything. I ain't. It's and the thing about, I guess another life lesson is you're all the time learning something new. Because
Hmm.
there's always something new coming out, either whether it be technology or a new bait, like the fuzz balls or the what they call them, the serpent baits or something. You know what I mean? Whatever. But yeah, everybody in here knows what I'm talking about. Um, there was one guy I was talking to the other day. He was like, "Ain't no way I'm fishing. 'Em, ain't no way I'm fishing them." And I was up at the cane pole, and he was in there checking out with about four of them. He was like, "Man," he's like, "I've been seeing everybody burning them up with them." Oh, that's a big fact right there. Like Uncle Corey says, he said, "If you ain't learning, you aren't listening." That's very true. That is very true. But but yeah, it's crazy, man. Some days on the water's like that, and yesterday was just one of them. But it was still a good time. Still a good time. I got my belly full, poo cooked, make good snacks. It was a fun time. Have you ever lost a fish that still keeps you awake at night?
uh, well, not really. Not after. I'm gonna be honest with you. After I caught the one on your lure, I haven't missed one that big.
Yeah,
I, that I've hooked into or that I know of. Now, when back probably a year or two ago, when Bayou had the tiny pole challenge, I hooked into. This is before I caught the 10 pounder.
yeah,
Uh, I hooked into something probably about the same size, and I mean, it peeled the line till it snapped.
yeah.
That tiny pole, and that I guess you could say that would be one that would have kept me up. But when I caught that big one off of your walker flopper, I ain't missed one bigger than that. I don't think.
I was going to wait till the end, but since you had already brought the 10 pounder up, tell us the story about that.
All right. Well, Tiny, I got with him. He was painting lures and stuff, and me and him came together with a color, called it the Alabama Slammer, and I'd been fishing this friend's family pond for many weeks and weeks, and I said, well, I said, I just got this in from him. I said, I'm gonna try that thing out, and I casted directly towards a tree that's down in the water, and it was no sooner than it hit the water, I heard thud. I said, oh man, and you can't see it on video. I've tried to make it as clear as I can, but uh, when that thing first jumped out of the water, it did a 360, and I said, "Oh my god!" But, I knew it was. I knew it was game time. Then got that thing in. I'm shaking. I've got the video pinned at the top of my page and everything, but I'm shaking. But that was the most adrenaline I had running through me in my life, and it was barely hooked.
It was barely hooked on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sims. They that was, I never will forget the night that you messaged me and you said I got a good video to post tomorrow. You said I caught a whopper with you whopper plopper, or you said you caught a whopper with my plopper is what you said. And I was like, well, I said he probably got him, probably 5 6 pound bass. And then I watched it and I went, oh shit. It was insane. It was like if you, I'm not saying it because it was my lure. I'm just saying in general. If you want to watch a video that will get you as excited about watching someone catch a fish, you need to check his video out that he's got pinned on his page. It's no joke. It's one of the most authentic catching videos that I think that I've ever seen. I mean, you can almost feel the emotion that he's expressing verbally on camera. Oh my gosh!
It kind of reminds me of Luke Bryan when he shoots that deer down,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah,
down. Is he down?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'd forgot about that video, but that was a good one too.
But yeah, that still to this day, I won't. I wish I could have, but at that time didn't have our we didn't have Taylor's tape and
Yeah.
all the measurements and stuff. And at that pond, I didn't know at the time if I could keep the fish or not or anything. I would have had that thing mounted, but
Yeah.
or not mounted, replica, because I don't know how I feel about taking that big of a fish and get it mounted.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a big one. You still hold the PB right now with my lures. I think it'll be a very long time before it's broken, unless Pooh gets her one down there where she fishes. I'd say Pooh give you a run for your money if she finds that big boy down there in that area where she fishes. And you fish multiple areas, lakes, ponds, and creeks. Uh, which one is your favorite and why?
Um, Probably creeks. Creeks because you don't know what you're gonna catch.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I was surprised, like Silver Creek, the creek I was talking about that I floated last week with my brother. It's pretty cool, man. You pull down to the spot that we put in, the road just dead ends there at the creek, and depending on the water, if it's down, the rock ledge goes all the way out and then it drops off deep. But this particular day that I was down there, the water was up over that ledge. eh, Up till to where about the gravel bank is, so to speak. But as soon as I got down there, man, there was a gar sitting there swimming around, in the shallows up on the bank chasing, little minnows. And I was like, damn, I've never seen a gar anywhere other than a lake. I've never seen one in a creek. So, it would be interesting to know, which, I mean, it kind of makes sense now. I mean, most creeks lead to river now that I'm sitting here thinking about it because that creek feeds into the Kentucky River. But but like I said, that was the first time I'd ever seen a gar anywhere other than the river or the lake. But I agree. I like the creeks because there's just very few people that you run into.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the entire. Which I mean, it piss poured the rain all day the day me and my brother was floating. But that's what, and he had never done that, and he was like, man, he's like, I almost felt like I'm just somewhere that ain't supposed to be real right now. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just nothing around. He said, this is like going deer hunting.
Yeah.
He said, in a way, he said, because you're just out in the middle of nowhere, ain't nobody around. And I was like, I said, this is what I love about it. I said, you're just, you're here on the water. You ain't got a bunch of people running around, scenarios running through your head, watching, you know what I mean? Having to watch people, and the world's gone to hell in a handbasket as it is. Like everybody's like, well, surely nothing will happen. I'm like, well, you wouldn't think anything would happen at church either, but it seems more and more anymore. That's what's happening. What's up,
That's
Vince?
right.
If you could leave every angler listening with one piece of advice, one lesson, or one mindset that's helped you on and off the water, what would it be?
Um, you got me on that one. Uh, just everything happens for a reason, and you don't know what the reason is or why things might be not going your way or are going your way. Just keep your head up and keep pushing through it because it's all going to work out.
Yep. Yep. How you doing, Cold Creek, Willing and Reeling, and 865? What's up, Paul? How you doing? But yeah, that's what I was going to say was never give up. Basically, I mean, if I would have given up fishing or if I would have given up every time something was hard, I we still wouldn't be around. You
That's
know,
right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's how fishing relates to life. Some days it's tough out on the water, and sometimes it's tough in your personal life. But I'm a firm believer in what you said too, though. Everything happens for a reason, and everything works out in the end. You know, there's tons of times that I've been to the water. Just like yesterday. Did we catch the biggest fish? No, but I was out there. I made memories, and I had fun. That's all it. That's all that matters. Whenever I go fishing, I ain't worried about the fish. I'm worried about
Yeehaw.
how much fun I can have.
Thank you, Pooh.
If it's boat riding, throwing till my arms numb or whatever. Well, right now, I've got to the part for the no time to retie.
Uh-oh.
After I get this one done, I'll see if you got any questions for me, and then we'll open the questions up to chat too. And I'm sure something else will come across my mind in between, then I ask you too. Thank you for all the dolphins. So you ready for no time to retie?
Let's do it.
You know what's going on here, right? I'm just going to ask you, answer as fast as you can. Favorite lure of all time?
Alabama Slammer.
Dirty water or clear water?
Clear water.
Night fishing or daytime fishing?
Daytime fishing.
How many rods is too many rods?
There ain't too many rods.
Do you always scream, "Oh my God," every time you catch a fish?
Every time. Especially
But yeah, I still can't help it. There was one day you called me and I wanted to answer that way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to say, "Oh my gosh," and then you'd be like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing. I was just wishing I was catching a fish. That way I could scream it." 865 says, "Want to see Bama in the creek more." What's up, Mr. Tim?
Yeah.
Uncle Corey Custom Lure says, "Who is your favorite pro fisherman?" Bass fisherman.
I I guess Hank Parker. Hank Parker, he resonates with me with fishing and NASCAR because he was best friends with Dale Earnhardt, and Hank Parker's got he stretches the truth sometimes, but that's any fisherman. But he's got some good stories, and if you sit there and listen to him for a while, you'll learn a thing or two.
Man, I got to meet Hank this past year down at the Corbin show, and dude, he is just one of the most genuine, down to earth, good people that I've ever met in my life. Really good dude. Really good dude. I got a hat. I had one outdoors with tiny hat left that they were gray, and I got his autograph on it. So I think from here on out, I think if I know I'm going to be going to a show where some pros are that I want to get autographs from, I'm just going to have them sign that hat. And baby that's in here, Dave, he had seen my post and was like, "Man, I wish it wasn't that far from Rhode Island." So Dave, he's helped me out a lot on some stuff. Been a big supporter of mine for a long time. So I had Hank sign one of my hard baits and sent it to him. You're all good, Tim. Yeah, and I agree with you, Tim. He has probably forgotten more than most know. That is an absolute fact.
Well, he was on one of his podcasts. He was talking about the forward facing sonar and stuff like that, and people were talking to him. We don't need to be messing with that. He got into saying, well, he said, as old as he is, he wants to learn all the knowledge he can about all the new stuff. He said, because one day I think it was him in one boat and his kids were in another boat, and he told them where to go fish and all that stuff. And he was going to use the live scope, forward face sonar, and all that, trying to figure it out. He said, I've got to learn this. He said, because if older I get and I fall, far behind with all this stuff. I'm not going to be able to educate the people that want to learn that are older like me, or the older people that are saying, I don't want none of that. I don't want to mess with that TV screen or nothing like that. He said it's educational and it helps you learn out a lot about the water that you're fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I got live scope. And I will say this, I caught my first bass yesterday as soon as we got on the water using it. I
Mm-hmm.
said them suspended. They were probably about sitting back, probably about 15 foot from a bank, about 8 to 10 foot of water. And I seen a couple of them suspended, and it was cool. I mean, it was the first time I'd ever caught a bass using a live scope, specifically targeting bass, you know. And I've caught catfish and bass and all kinds of craziness while I've been crappie fishing. But the thing about it was I was slow rolling that crank, seeing it was just right above them, and seeing that one turn, started following, and smacked it. I was like, hell yeah, it was pretty cool, you know. But I will tell you, my neck hurts because I was like this all day long. I mean, that's the downside for me using the live scope is I'm paying more attention to that screen, than I am taking in what everything that's around me. Um, but it's a very good tool. Like I told Corey earlier, and I mentioned earlier, there was a 2 day tournament going on up at Cave Run that I didn't even know nothing about. $10,000 payout, and every time I'd see two guys on a boat and they was on a bass boat, I'd be like, hey, y'all in the tournament? Yeah, y'all doing all right? And they're like, dude, it's bad. Like, I mean, it was. So I mean, there was at least probably, I can't remember how many exactly, but every boat we talked to said they were having struggles, and just about every one of them had live scope on it. Live scope will help you find them, but it won't help you catch them. That's a fact. I think a lot of it goes into the presentation of the bait, the color, and what they want that day. That's like crappie fishing. It might take you 15 different colors, but once you figure out what color they're wanting, you'll catch every one of them. You know, it's that's been my experience. I've had some really fun days on the water crappie fishing. Brian says I see neck and back surgeons making millions because of live scope. You're probably true, and if they even want it, that's another factor that comes into it too. That is another factor that comes into it too.
Appreciate you letting me come on, man, and keep on painting them baits. You're doing a phenomenal job, brother.
I appreciate it, man. That's what I've told everybody. I said it's been nice taking a little bit of break. I usually do this whenever I know I'm going to be really bit. Oh, you're all good, bro. Anytime I know that I've got a show coming up, I usually take about a week or two, and I just walk away from it because I know the show is in the middle of July, so I'm telling myself after this week I got to get in here and really start slinging the paint. So, but not to the tune of like getting ready for January at least. I'll probably paint about 100 up for the show coming up. Get them painted up, do a bunch of one offs, and go from there.
Heck yeah.
But if you need anything at all, I appreciate your time again, and I appreciate everybody that's come in and hung out. And we'll see y'all later.
See y'all.
Y'all
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother.